So guys, 2024 has been rather interesting in a sort of regretful way when it comes to firearms laws here in the Philippines because a politician has already made his move when it comes to making life more difficult for us legal gun owners. Now, this law was submitted uh, way back, but as you can see over here, it took a while for us to find out about this and to properly discuss it. Well, now we are here. It's time for us to have a look at this latest initiative on banning firearms through excessive taxation. And this is something that you will see more and more as we engage and discuss the initiatives being launched by anti-gun politicians here in the Philippines. So let's check this out. So first off, before we begin, it's important to note that I am not a journalist and this video is for educational purposes only. I do not own most of the assets that I used here in this video. So there you go. Thank you to all those who have created them. And yes, there will be some lacking documents. So let me know if there are any deficiencies in the comments below. Now, this is not a political video. Let me just be clear that we are not here to bash politicians. We are simply here to state the facts and to let everybody know on what they are up to and to discuss the truth about their actions and what they might be trying to accomplish here, what their agendas are. And of course, I just want to share what I know. That's all that I want to do in this video, so this is something that I hope you appreciate. And again, if there are things that you want to point out, please let us know in the comments below, and I'll be very happy to read them. And of course, being a gun channel, this is PRL, and I am obviously biased to the legal ownership of firearms. I wear my biases on my sleeves, so there is nothing strange about that. You should expect that because this is a gun channel. This is not a journalism channel. So there you go. Let's now begin. Now, House Bill 3367 is a draft bill that was filed by some politicians here in the Philippines, and it seeks to add more taxes to firearms and ammunition. This bill, as I mentioned, is just planning on adding taxes. It does not ban anything. Now, I know I said that in the title, but you can actually ban something by making it prohibitively expensive. It's a practical way of preventing the ownership of something. And this will significantly increase the cost of legally purchased firearms and ammunition. That's what this bill will ultimately do if it succeeds. And it will definitely make life more difficult for us firearms owners because it does increase costs. This is problematic because life is already hard enough for a lot of us gun owners, and inflation is actually quite high and often outstrips our yearly increases, salary increases, unless you get a promotion. So in this discussion, we want to briefly discuss this bill. This is just going to be a top-down summary of it, and we want to talk about the politicians and the mainstream media campaign that might have contributed to the creation of this bill, and even some external influences, since that is entirely a possibility, always a possibility in politics. Now, we're also going to discuss its effects, the good and the bad, but we will mostly discuss what the challenges that this bill will create and how it will punish legal gun owners and very likely have zero effect on crime. So what are gun taxes? All right, so right now, every time we make a gun law here in the Philippines, it changes a lot of things that are tied to what we would like to call Republic Act 10591. All right, so Republic Act 10591 is the firearms ownership law here in the Philippines. Now, firearms are already taxed here in the Philippines. All right, they have a lot of taxes attached to them, which is why they are very expensive. In fact, it's very common for locally made firearms here in the Philippines to be more expensive here than, for example, when they are sold in the US, simply because here in the Philippines, firearms are excessively taxed if they are sold locally, as opposed to being exported. So, this new bill will add to that. It's not like firearms aren't being taxed here in the Philippines. They already are. They are already being taxed, but this will add another layer of taxes to firearms, accessories, and ammunition, including parts. So they will go to government coffers. Okay, so that's what the taxes are. And they will serve as income to the government to fund various things, which we will also talk about what this tax funds. Now, firearms in the Philippines, as I mentioned, are already heavily taxed. So that's why the guns here are more expensive, or can be more expensive. Locally made firearms here can be more expensive than they would be, for example, if they were sold in the US, simply because of this fact. And this does create problems and difficulties for law-abiding gun owners here in the Philippines. Now, most firearms sold in the Philippine market, on average, already pay a lot of taxes. Okay, that includes import taxes, VAT, and other taxes. So if a firearm comes from another country, it will pay import taxes and all of these other taxes. So there's a lot of them. Now, like it is in other countries, in the United States and here in the Philippines, gun taxes have been used as a form of gun control. If you make something more expensive, it becomes a de facto way of preventing ownership of that something. So consequently, if you make firearms more expensive, you are effectively banning their ownership, practically preventing people from owning them, because Filipinos don't really, or rather a lot of Filipinos, most Filipinos don't really make that much money. And we are very, very limited in our resources to procure firearms and practice their safe use. So if you make them more expensive, you will make that much more difficult for law-abiding gun owners. This will hurt working class and middle class law-abiding gun owners the most, of course. If you are a rich person here in the Philippines, then you will probably find little to no difficulty in getting a firearm and maintaining its ownership, because we have licenses here and registrations, firearm registrations to maintain. So there you go. But if you are a working class or middle class person here in the Philippines, it becomes very, very difficult, because every peso counts. And you will usually be operating on a tight budget when it comes to maintaining your firearms related hobby. So that is a problem. So guys, before we continue, I just wanted to say thank you very much to all those who have subscribed and supported this channel. We are almost at 11,000 subscribers, so hit that like and subscribe button to support the channel. And if you really appreciate the content that we are doing here, please consider giving a one-time donation in Buy Me a Coffee, link down below. And to all of our new viewers, welcome to our headquarters, and I hope you enjoy this analysis video on the news concerning Philippine gun owners. Now back to the discussion. Now let's talk about House Bill 3367. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, this is a bill that imposes additional taxes on firearms, ammunition, parts, and accessories. So it will add 10% more taxes on pistols and revolvers. It will impose a new 11% tax on rifles, shotguns, ammunition. Of course, that also includes firearms, parts, and accessories. And this bill was proposed by the following politicians. Okay, so we're talking about Camarines Sur Representative Luis Villafuerte Jr. We also have Representative Miguel Luis Villafuerte and Representative Suyoshi Anthony Horibata. And we also have Nicolas Enciso VIII. So all of these politicians proposed this bill in the 19th Congress. Okay, so I'm going to be posting a link on this bill below so that you can check it out. You can check it in the video description. Now, this bill will impose all of those taxes, but it will also exempt taxes on these items if they are purchased by the government and if they are exported. And of course, as it mentions in the bill, you can read it in the bill, by the way, it will use the tax revenue for this for more gun control research. So there you go. This bill is double-edged and problematic in another layer because not only will it make firearms ownership more difficult, but it will also provide funding to more anti-gun initiatives coming from whoever it is that will handle those funds. So, banning firearms or practically banning them through taxation, making their ownership more difficult by making them more expensive, this is something that we have seen before. And while we certainly don't get a lot of that in the Philippines, we have seen this done in many, many other countries, like, for example, in the European Union, but a lot of it recently we got to see, or we saw in California, in the United States. So that is one way in which they attack the Second Amendment over there by increasing taxes on firearms to make it more difficult for law-abiding gun owners to procure firearms and ammunition and even train on them. And lo and behold, California has a recent proposal to add an 11% tax on guns and ammunition. Wow, what a coincidence. So here in the Philippines, they're also trying that 11% on rifles, shotgun, ammunition, and accessories. And they also did 11% in California. So, wow, what a coincidence over here. I'm sure those two are very, very unrelated. So no coordination whatsoever. So I guess anti-gun states in the US are working to make firearms unaffordable for citizens. That's something that they are trying to do there. Of course, California being a very anti-gun state, in the US, they do these things all the time. Now here in the Philippines, they are now trying this. And they will certainly try to make it very difficult for Filipinos to own more firearms here. And this is another example of Philippine politicians learning from gun control tactics from other countries and trying out that stunt over here in the Philippines to attack Republic Act 10591. Now, there are a lot of problems with this. Let's discuss it now. Taxing firearms will only negatively affect law-abiding gun owners. This is common sense. If you tax legally owned firearms, you will only encourage more and more people to not buy firearms, or if they are desperate for personal safety and security, they will probably try to procure illegal firearms to protect themselves and their families. Of course, because illegal arms manufacturers here in the Philippines do not pay taxes, obviously, this law will have no effect on it and will not have any effect on criminal activity because a lot of them use illegally manufactured firearms for example, such as Paltik firearms or firearms manufactured by organizations such as Bangsamoro Military Industries. So when they make firearms and they don't pay taxes, then criminals are going to be at the receiving end of that, and they will also not pay taxes in extension. So this will hardly have any effect on crime. Now, because this is something that will be implemented on legally procured firearms and ammunition, it will punish law-abiding gun owners every time they buy firearms, okay? All the firearms. And parts, accessories, and ammunition. So if you're going to have your firearm repaired and you want to buy parts for it, then that will also be affected by this. This will also include accessories. Now, accessories will include anything from red dot sights, magnified sights, scopes, suppressors, magazines, tactical lights and lasers, bore sighting lasers, anything that's firearms related, because it's considered as an accessory, it will be affected by this new tax. It will make those things more expensive to buy. And this will make, of course, firearms maintenance more expensive, because every time you're going to want to do something to upgrade your firearm or have it repaired, the parts that you need for that operation will be taxed as well. So there you go. It's going to be more expensive. So this is going to be very bad for legal gun owners. And another funny consequence of it, another very ironic and somewhat funny consequence of it, is that because exported firearms are exempt from this, it might be more economical for Filipinos who want to own Filipino-made firearms, Philippine-made firearms, to simply have them exported and re-imported, because at least in that way they will skip the tax on some of the items over there, because there will be an exemption on the tax. Of course, when you import it, it will still be taxed. But one thing that we can see over here is that sometimes it has that effect. And this is also the reason why Philippine-made firearms can be found at just the same price, for example, or when we look at the US, a lot of the firearms, Philippine-made firearms here, are sold there for just the same price, or are even more expensive here in the Philippines compared to some of their prices in some of the countries where we export them to, which is weird. Anyway, this is very painful for working and middle-class Filipinos. There is no doubt about it. This is going to hurt law-abiding gun owners. So there you go. That is another issue here that we have. This bill, I think, will be very beneficial to illegal arms manufacturers, because when they are selling their arms here in the Philippines locally and they don't pay taxes because they're illegal, well, congratulations to them, because the competition of legal firearms will now be more expensive. So great work to whoever it is that thought about this law, this bill. Maybe they should try a little bit more effort into considering the consequences of their actions before they do this. Clearly a shortage on critical thinking there. So how are we going to solve this challenge? Okay, so if the government wants more taxes, they want more revenue, then maybe they should consider taxing the church. All right, so this is a suggestion that was made by the previous administration. If you tax the church, then perhaps you will get more revenue. Actually, you will surely get more revenue. But when you're already taxing people that you are already taxing, it only makes their lives more difficult. And I don't think Filipino citizens should be taxed more for their firearms and ammunition, because they already pay so many taxes on their firearms and ammunition, such as import taxes and value-added taxes. So that's just 2 taxes, and I'm sure there are a lot more taxes out there. So if we're going to make a solution to this challenge, and as the bill suggests, there are lots of loose firearms, I think that the best solution here would be to reduce taxes on legal firearms and not increase them. Because if you reduce taxes on legal firearms, they become more affordable to law-abiding gun owners, and they become a more difficult competition to illegal guns, which are very affordable, don't pay taxes. Because when something is cheaper, it becomes something that is more desirable to own for people who have to pay money for them. So if you reduce taxes on legal firearms, you will get more legal gun ownership. You will get more revenue for the government because all of those firearms purchases on legal firearms will add more taxes to government coffers, and at the same time will make them a more attractive option compared to illegally made firearms, which are loose firearms here in the Philippines and they cannot be registered. So we should do something like that if we want to reduce the proliferation or the spread or the manufacture of loose firearms. If we want to reduce all of those things, we have to make legal guns more cheap. So that's a solution that I think will work, and it's very common sense and does not punish law-abiding gun owners. So there you go. In summary, House Bill 3367 is a new bill from the lower house, and they want to add 10 or 11% taxes on firearms, ammunition, parts, and accessories. It will make life much more painful for law-abiding gun owners, and it will increase costs if it passes. So if you are watching this video and you are concerned with this kind of behavior because you are a gun owner, or you just hate more taxes in general because they increase the costs of everything and make life more difficult for us Filipinos, then we should really show our disapproval of things like this and avoid voting for anti-gun politicians in Philippine elections. There's a lot of them out there, these anti-gun politicians. And some of them are shown over here right now. So that would be Luis Villafuerte, Miguel Luis Villafuerte. We're seeing a political dynasty there. Tsuyoshi Anthony Horibata and Nicolas Enciso VIII. So there you go, guys. I know a lot of you are curious. I know a lot of you have asked me before, who are anti-gun politicians? Who are these people? Who are those people who are working against the interests of law-abiding gun owners and making life more expensive and difficult for us? This is a good example of anti-gun politicians. So I hope you consider your votes very carefully when these people are running for office. And know that if you are a Philippine gun owner, they are working against your interests, and they are working to make firearms ownership here in the Philippines much more expensive. So there you go. So I hope you learned a lot from this video. This is just a short discussion on this new initiative from anti-gun politicians to make firearms ownership more difficult here in the Philippines, more expensive. And in our next video, we're going to talk about this guy and what he is doing, the bill that he has submitted that will make life again more difficult for Philippine gun owners. So there you go. So again, if you like this video, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. It really helps the channel grow. I appreciate that very much. So until next time, I will see you in the next Philippine Ricochet Line video. Thanks for watching.